You just think we just, whatever happens, we just shit another player. And everything's going to be perfect. All of our fans think that. You all think that. That's what you write about.
You don't want to be here. There's a specific reason. Not really, I think we did a poor job recruiting if guys are coming in and immediately walking out the door because it was something different than what they thought it would be. We lied to them during recruiting, or we sold them on a dream that wasn't true.
Yeah, right now we have the atmosphere of a JC softball game. That's what we are, a JC softball team. As long as, it's not whether you win or lose. It's like the team that wins is the one that has the most fun. That crap like that. All this stuff that's contaminated America, where they give every kid a trophy and they don't keep scoring Little League anymore.
Now, that's also a second in the West, baby.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I don't like getting. It's the only time we're ever getting excited about second. From now on, it's first, okay?
Winning the SEC probably is harder than winning the national championship. Do you know that?
Well, how about them fucking dogs? My language. Turn that damn jukebox on! Hey, buddy, this beer's for you, Mike, and Cousin Shane. That SEC podcast loves the Pirate, and the Pirate loves that SEC podcast. Hail State.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And guess who bailed yet again? Cousin Shane's supposed to be on the line. Listen here, I got a text from this guy. Said, you ready to do the pod? He said, don't be mad. I'm headed to Paula Dean's restaurant. Swear. He's got to be the only podcast host in America that ditches a show for Paula Dean restaurants. If you follow Cousin Shane at Big Orange Vols, let him know you're disappointed in him, and I hope that damn Paula Dean was worth letting everybody down. But that's not going to ruin our show because, hey, like I said, we've got tons of comments here from around the SEC, so let's just get right into it. And before we go around the league, big news from the SEC. The SEC has announced Commissioner Greg Sankey had his contract extended through the 2026 season. And I think it's easy to say, he's the most powerful man in college athletics right now. So this makes total sense. And if you caught all the media days activity, it seemed like every damn coach that went up there praised the job Greg Sankey has been doing. And for good cause. We weren't even aware at the time that he was wheeling and dealing, getting Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. That, I think it's natural to sit here and say, well, because of that monumental move, we're giving him an extension, and he deserves it. But a lot of us tend to have short-term memory. Let's not forget this time last year, I don't think Greg Sankey gets enough praise for keeping not only the SEC, but all of college football afloat when you had people like the Big Ten and the Pac-12. They canceled their season. We all know the story. And it was the SEC, it was the Big 12 that hung together, and eventually the ACC as well. So Greg Sankey he deserves all the praise. He deserves this extension. And it's good to know that his contract is extended through 2026. And it's just me. I'm reading between the lines here. They keep saying Texas and Oklahoma 2025. The fact that they're extending Greg Sankey's contract, I think that the SEC's got a lot of confidence that Texas and Oklahoma are going to be in the SEC a lot sooner than that. And because I don't think, again, I think this is the ultimate reward for the complete package, but really for getting Texas and Oklahoma and hopefully getting them in a lot sooner than the 2025 season. Hey, one thing that I really wanted to hit on before we jump around the league, we got comments from Dan Mullen, Sam Pittman, and Shane Beamer on the show, but sportsbetting.ag has put out odds for quarterback competitions around the SEC, and these are some of my favorite odds each and every offseason when these start rolling out because there's really good value in some of these, others not so much. You can kind of see the perceived favorites certainly by these odds. And I want to start with the two that I think most people are going to assume these odds are dead on. and it starts with Mississippi State. Will Rogers, minus 225. He's a heavy favorite over Jack Abram, who's listed at plus 140. So minus 225 to plus 140 gives you an indication of just how overwhelming Will Rogers is favored to win this job. So just based on those odds, Will Rogers is a heavy favorite, and I've checked into this. He's confident. Behind the scenes, they're confident that Will Rogers, as long as he doesn't have any huge issues in training camp going into, really his first camp. I don't know if people are aware of this, but he was a guy that basically all fall camp was unable to participate this time last year. He was one of the COVID guys. So KJ Costello came out and he set the world on fire, set the SEC record, but we all know after that it was a tough climb, and they had to go to Will Rogers, true freshman, and he had his ups and downs. But by the end of the season, he was playing really well and looked to be the guy for the foreseeable future, and I still think that's the case. So Will Rogers, heavy favorite, again, minus 225 to win that starting quarterback job over Jack Abraham. And then the other one, no surprise in my opinion, Texas A&M, Hayes King, minus 140 to Zach Calzada, plus 100. So this race is a lot closer than the Mississippi State race, just based on these odds. But this is the way we've been leaning all offseason. Hayes King, Texas A&M, we all know, they're replacing 4 starters on the offensive line. Yes, they're bringing back potential All-American and Kenyon Green. So, and we had Billy Lucci on the show talking the talent they have on that offensive line. But talent alone doesn't always get you success on the offensive line. It's a lot about that experience factor, the continuity. So many moving pieces from last year's unit to this year. And who does that favor? I don't think this is the sole reason they would go with Hayes King, but a guy with legit, what were they saying, 4.5 speed at 6'3", 200 and whatever he is. I don't know if he's that big. But Hayes King, the mobile guy, you got to figure is going to be, have an advantage potentially over Zach Calzada. Might be a different story if it was last year's offensive line, where I think they allowed like 2 sacks last year, something crazy like that. This year might be a little bit different story. Jimbo may need to go with the guy that has the legs, but as Billy Lucci said, Hayes King can beat you with his arm too. So it's not just based purely on that, but it's just the overall talent. I think Hayes King is going to win that job. Main reason I really wanted to talk about these odds, Tennessee quarterback odds. And I do not understand these. Of course, it's based on these odds, it's really up for grabs. But Joe Milton, plus 100, the favorite to win the job. Harrison Bailey, plus 150. And then here's the guy I put my money on. Hendon Hooker, plus 250. I've been saying for a while I think he's going to be the starting quarterback, at least coming out the gate. And I think that, that's what these odds are for. They're for who's going to start game one. Hendon Hooker may have not had the best spring game, and I think we read a little too much into spring games at time. Now, certainly they brought in Joe Milton for a reason. You don't bring in another transfer if they were enamored with Hendon Hooker. But, go back and watch their games. I mean, it's not even comparable when you go with Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker, just based on what they've done. And many people get enamored with these big arm quarterbacks. That's what Joe Milton is. He's a huge guy, 6'5", 230-something pounds. He looks like Cam Newton, and he's got a huge arm. So naturally you think that's your guy maybe. But I'm telling you, Hendon Hooker, he's a leader. He's got way more experience. He started his career, I believe he was 6-1. He won his first 6 games as a starting quarterback, including on the road, his first ever start, come from behind win, game-winning drive against Miami. And I put him leaving Virginia Tech more on that Justin Fuente and that program that's just not doing much of anything than I do on Hendon Hooker. So, and then he got banged up, and there was another quarterback, and that's why he left. So I'm just saying, I'm not guaranteeing Hendon Hooker is going to be your starting quarterback, but at plus 250 compared to Joe Milton plus 100, I like Hendon Hooker. Those odds should be flipped. Put your money on Hendon Hooker. And Tennessee's quarterback coach, Joe Hazel, I think is how you say his name, he spoke to the media here on Thursday. I'm just going to play a real quick clip. And he really talked up Hendon Hooker here. So just a little clip here for you.
Yeah, Hendon has done a great job pushing. He you can see the how hard he works and everything he does. Yeah, in the classroom, but he's made a bunch of adjustments. He's completely changed his body. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, and he worked his butt off on getting his mechanics where he needs to be. So not only mentally is he in the right place, but he can make all the throws that he needs to make once he's there. That guy works as hard as anybody that I've been around, so he did a great job taking advantage of this summer and getting himself an opportunity to play this fall.
All right, so there you have it from Tennessee's quarterback coach, singing the praises of Hendon Hooker, and certainly he's sang the praise of a lot of these guys. We're only 2 days into camp here at Tennessee, so they're by no means going to make a decision anytime soon. But that's just something to keep your eye on. Put you some money on if you're looking for one of these quarterbacks that's not favored among these odds at Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. I think Hendon Hooker's your best bet to, I don't even consider it an upset, but according to the sportsbetting.ag, it would be. But all right, hey, we got a couple coach clips to get to, so let's hop it around the league.
Now let's go around the league.
My daughters said something about me wearing a visor and need to put on a hat because I'm getting bald. So I'm going to wear a hat from here on out.
I mean, if you look over the next 6 years, I think we played Miami 3 times, Florida State 6 times, South Florida 3 times, Mississippi State once. So who's the SEC teams? You know, I mean, I think it's an injustice for the kids. We should mix those games up, and you should, play more teams from the West.
Why don't you start calling around and see if you can get somebody else to play us, and we'll play them. We'll play anybody you can get to play us.
At Louisiana, hold on a second. Hey guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
All right, so listeners know of this show. Thing that caught my eye the most from SEC Media Days when you're talking the Florida Gators was just Dan Mullen talking up Emory Jones. I mean, he just did it time and time again, and that has continued on into his first media availability of training camp, really hyping up Emory Jones and the strengths. They're going to engineer the offense to Emory Jones. It's going to look a lot different than how it looked with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney and all that. So that was kind of the thing that once again stood out to me. Dan Mullen continues to sing the praises of Emory Jones, while at the same time, I thought these were some really interesting comments where Dan Mullen is, kind of an open book here, talking about they have faith in Emory. They know he's got the talent to succeed, but you just never truly know until a quarterback is put into situations they've never been asked to handle. I thought these were some really insightful comments here from Dan Mullen.
Last year before the season, I don't think many people expected Kyle Trask to go off in the way he did, competing for a Heisman Trophy. And here comes Emory Jones in here, waiting for a few years, and maybe people don't expect a ton out of him in that same way. What are you seeing going in? Do you see similarities in how they're entering the season, and what do you expect from Emory Jones?
Yeah, I mean, similarities within their personality, similarities within their approach, similarities with how they've developed, and how they've matured. Obviously their skill sets are extremely different. And they're one of the things that is important for us is, to play to the skill sets of our players. So you're going to do things differently, and it's do things differently at the quarterback position and then do things differently at every position where you have new faces that you're playing to their skill sets and their strengths out there on the field. But I think Emory has, learned an awful lot, from a guy like Kyle Trask that 2 years ago, I don't know if anybody even would, maybe except for you guys to kind of know the roster and cover the team, even a regular Florida fan really wouldn't have known his name that much, to be in kind of a national spotlight, Heisman Trophy finalist, top NFL draft pick type of guy. So I think Emory has learned a great deal in the maturity of how to handle himself, how to prepare, how to be ready for your moment. And so, I expect great things out of him this year.
Going back to Emory, how much does the mental challenge for him change in a season like this compared to last year, where he comes in now knowing that he's going to be the guy?
I think for him, I think the expectations, but being a mature guy, it helps. I think, being around the guys, seeing how they handle it, how to prepare for different situations. how he gets himself ready for the season. I think there's a lot to that within maturity of knowing how to prepare and how to do things. And, and then the expectations that come along with that and the responsibility when everybody's looking at you. I mean, he's got to go win the job still, but I think everybody looks at you as the guy that's going to be the guy. There's certain different levels of expectations for you within the good and the bad, and I think the maturity certainly helps him to be able to handle all of that.
Hey, you mentioned earlier that when Trask replaced Philippe, that the fans probably weren't very confident at that moment, but you've probably had your own confidence level in that transition, and you've had a lot of quarterback ascension issues over the years in replacing quarterbacks. What is your comfort level with this one compared to others?
No, I'm great. Kind of the same way. I think, there's little things you don't know until it happens, right? And there's situations that maybe these guys have never been in before. I had a lot of confidence in Kyle when we put him in the game, but he was going into a situation I have not seen him in a ton, and how he was going to handle that. And he handled every situation that was thrown at him extremely well. My confidence in Emery as a player is extremely high. My confidence with his maturity is extremely high. Now, he's also, though, going to get him put in situations we haven't seen him have to handle. Right? I mean, everyone's favorite player on the team is the backup quarterback, right? Right? I mean, everybody loves the backup quarterback. And so I think that is such a big deal of now all the extra responsibilities that you haven't had to handle that come that are really almost non-football related, more mental and handling different situations and pressures. Not how is he going to handle a 3rd down and 4. I have no worries about that. It's handling all of what comes with being a starting quarterback.
All right, so some good stuff there from Coach Mullen, and, I think he's dead on the mark. It's one thing we all know there's players that excel in practice in the offseason, then once the lights get turned on, and hell, I mean, we got week 3, we're playing Alabama. How is Emory Jones going to respond when he is the man in Gainesville? You truly you're not going to get an answer until we see it. So I thought that was an interesting comment from Dan Mullen, but here's the thing. Dan Mullen is going to do everything in his power to make sure that Emory Jones, when he's faced with these tests, that he's got the answers to them, so to speak. He's going to prepare him. He's going to put him in a position to get the most out of him and the talent around him. So this isn't to say, he's backing down off his hype here of his quarterback, but just some interesting comments that, I think he's being forthright here, and you don't get that from a lot of coaches. And we all know that Dan Mullen, there may not be a better one in all of college football that coaches the quarterback position. So, I wanted to share those insightful comments. But that's not all we had from Dan Mullen. Brenton Cox, who had the offseason surgery here in June. And I know there was some feuding back and forth between Georgia media and Florida media, and them talking about Brenton Cox may miss some time. That doesn't sound to be the case according to Dan Mullen, so that's great news. Brenton Cox started every game for the Gators, was one of their best players on the defensive side of the ball. And then DeMarcus Bowman. I mean, so much hype around this kid. Florida, they look to be relying on the ground game this year. DeMarcus Bowman, they're going to need him to step up, and after coming in from Clemson, the 5-star from Lakeland down there, poised to be in a position. I know Florida's got a couple running backs, so it's not all on Bowman's shoulders, but hey, if you got 3 or 4 really good running backs, it's just going to make it that much easier to rotate them in and out, keep them fresh all SEC season. So let's kick it over to Dan Mullen talking about Brenton Cox and DeMarcus Bowman.
DeMarcus Bowman limited in spring. Have you had enough reps or enough to see, the juice he brings potentially?
We'll see. He looked good in a little bit in spring, but we got to see how he picks things up, how he learns, and obviously, that hurts. Being a first-year player, when you kind of miss a whole installation, this is kind of now, it's almost like he's going through the installation and learning it all for the first time because of how much he missed of the installation in spring.
Yeah, Dan, Brenton obviously had to sit out a year before he was able to play. Having had that year now back under his belt in 2020, what are you kind of expecting from him, and then how's he dealing with that foot recovery?
Yeah, I mean, we expect him to be back. I mean, I don't know if we're going to let him go 100% right on day one, but, he's going to be out there practicing right away. And building him up right now, with the time that he's missed, building him up, getting ready back to being 100% in not just the foot injury and within his training, conditioning, all that stuff. I expect big things out of him this year because, I thought he had a really solid year last year. Now a second year in the system, more experience, more veteran guy, an older guy, having to learn, look at what he did well and poorly last year and how to build off of that. I have tremendous respect for Brent because you look at a guy that highly profiled recruiting guy. People had all kinds of questions about him. He's come in here and been, I think, SEC academic honor roll since the day he stepped on campus. Handles his business at an extremely high level in the locker room, in the classroom, and on the practice field. I mean, the effort and what he was able to do the year he knew he couldn't play, to come out every day, work, get better, be a team guy, give the team a great look, and excel in the classroom. I think is very shows a lot of the character and the type of person that he is, and really why he fits being a Florida Gator.
Some positivity there from Dan Mullen concerning potentially two of the better players on the roster this season in Gainesville. That's what you want to hear going into training camp. And one more anecdote. I just thought this was great. Anytime we can get these coaches having some fun in these media availabilities, we try to include it. And Mullen was asked about coaching in the snow. Has he ever done that before? And he shared a great story of having to do the hand signals. It's freezing cold out, and he's got the gloves on. You can't see what he's signaling there. So let's kick it down to Dan Mullen one more time.
How would you feel about possibly coaching in the snow?
How would I feel about coaching in the snow? Yeah. I mean, I've done it.
Is it any different?
Yeah, it's like cold. Okay, it's. I mean, I'll give you a funny snow story. So we're coaching. I'll get the year off, but we're at Utah at BYU for the Mountain West Championship, a game we won 3-0. Okay. I think it was 3-0, and I mean it was 3-0, right? It was our first year at Utah, and it was like in a blizzard. In 03, is that what it was? And I mean, I'm on the sidelines trying to signal plays, right? And I mean, you got these big gloves on you're trying to signal with, and Alex is like, it's hard to see. I'm like, well, you better figure it out because I'm not taking the gloves off, of what I'm signaling to you. And I remember like it was the blizzard. It was like coming down almost sideways, like freezing cold. And Mike Sanford's up in the box. That's the OC. He's like, ooh, okay. Boy, it looks like it's kind of calmed down and got a lot nicer down there on the field for us to open things up. I'm like, why don't you come out of the box and see what it's like down here on the field? If you think it's been a whole lot nicer down here because it's still about 10 below zero with snow coming sideways.
Hey, how great was that? And we've all been there where we're the low man on the totem pole and your boss is, acting like your job's a lot easier than you think it is. And, I think that's something that we could all kind of relate with there. All right, next let's kick it on down to Fayetteville. Woo pig! Where Arkansas had their first media availability of training camp here. The Razorbacks are getting underway this weekend. And, hey, again, I got a little heated when we were talking about this team during SEC Media Days. I have so much disrespect, and that's fine. I think that's where the Razorbacks like to live, man. They like to, no one's going to be picking them. Seen plenty of people have them dead last in the West. I have no idea what those people are thinking, but Razorbacks are going to be a team, continue to be on the rise. And one thing I really note here, and I think we saw this last year to a degree, but I think it kind of tapered off just with the not having quite the depth they wanted where they wanted it. Then, the linemen not having the bodies that Sam Pittman desires them to have. Frame that Sam Pittman is kind of looking for, they kind of wore down. But the continuation of this program, taking the mindset of their head coach, Sam Pittman, true and true Arkansas. Hell, Sam Pittman himself, underrated. Everyone thought that was a joke. Arkansas, toughest schedule in the country. They're going to go 0-10. I mean, that was what almost everybody thought. Even some Arkansas fans, my God, why is the SEC screwing us with this schedule? Well, they came right out and punched Georgia in the damn mouth. And, in the second half, Georgia won out because they have one of the better rosters in all the country. But that set the tone for the season. And that's something Sam Pittman hit on here, heading into what he is looking for week 1 in his second training camp as Arkansas head coach.
Well, is there anything in particular you're looking for this first week, either, from pace or, just anything? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm really looking for team leadership. I want to see the team push each other, and the more the team can control the tempo, the strain of practice, the better football team you're going to have. We'll certainly have our expectations, but you'd like for the expectations to be met by the players. And that's when you have a pretty good football team and they feel like they own the team. And so that's probably the number one deal, because coming out of the spring and coming out of summer, you felt like the team was getting ready to take its ownership of themselves. And then that becomes belief, and a lot of certainly confidence comes out of that. So that would be the number one thing. Defensively, we have to be able to get the offenses we're playing behind the chains. I think that's the biggest thing for Barry and them is, quit getting into 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, and let's go to 2nd and 12 and 2nd and 10. Give ourselves a little bit better chance. Certainly 3rd downs, getting off the field was a big part of that as well.
So there you have it from Coach Pittman. And it's interesting, looking for leadership from this team that returns so many seniors. I'm sure that he feels confident that they're going to have strong leadership, but it's one thing to believe that. It's another, you got to go out there and do it. So I think that's kind of what he's hitting at. Arkansas, I believe, leads the SEC in returning seniors. So many super seniors. I know Ole Miss is right there with them, so they're kind of neck and neck in that regard. But Arkansas has got a number of other seniors returning, so I think that gives them quite the edge there. But again, where's this leadership at? Where's this toughness at? How can we improve both lines of scrimmage? That'll be something to watch here in Fayetteville the first week of practice. And this is what I was talking about. Take it on Sam Pittman's mentality. Coach Pittman really loves this team, really loves the mentality heading into camp. And hopefully, if you're a Razorback fan, it's just a continuation of what we saw last year. And now we're going into it with a deeper roster, a more veteran roster, and some transfers here that are really going to help this defensive side of the ball.
Coach, what's the mindset of this team as they head into year 2 under you?
Yeah, I love them. I love the team. I think they're hungry. I think they, we're a chip on the shoulder, tough, proud. We love the state of Arkansas. That's not for recruiting. That's just the truth. And I think they're a confident group. You have to do something to continue to stay confident, You have to have success in whatever way that may be. I've said it before. I thought going in at halftime against Georgia last year, even though we didn't win the game, built some confidence in our program. Hey, we can do this. And, bottom line, you put two halves together, what may happen. But I love the demeanor of the team. I like the new guys that we brought in, the transfers and the freshmen. And I am very proud of the new coaches that we brought in. And
all right, the last thing from Sam Pittman, kind of like Dan Mullen. Hey, these coaches are in a great mood. Everybody's undefeated. Everybody's feeling good. Summer's winding down. It means football is near. And so during the presser, someone's phone went off, and it was Super Mario Brothers. And Sam Pittman, he rolled with it, and this was probably the highlight of his presser here.
We're stealing first downs on returns or touchdowns, and right now, Is that Frogger or no? It's the little guy Mario. Yeah, I used to spend a lot of quarters on that. Don't do that, kids. But
What's that? Is that Frogger? Oh, that was a good one. All right, so anytime Sam Pittman's going to be cutting up with the media boys, as Spurrier like to call it, I'm here for it. All right, last team. Let's jump on down to Columbia, where South Carolina opened training camp here with their first media availability of the fall. And some kind of big news, but kind of, sort of, not really. Shane Beamer says that Kevin Harris had a minor back surgery this offseason. Maybe that was already reported. I was just unaware of it, but he shared that news. Let's kick it over to Shane Beamer real quick.
For now, Kevin Harris had a minor procedure on his back over the summer just to clean up something that's been lingering and bothering him a little bit. He looks great, moves around great. He was in my office today begging Clint Haggard, our trainer, to let him practice tomorrow. He's not fully cleared yet to practice, but is on track, says he feels better than he ever has. Excited that we were able to get that cleaned up and that minor procedure that he got done. Fully expect him to be ready to go game one.
All right, so there you have it from Coach Beamer, and it doesn't sound serious, certainly. I mean, hell, they said Kevin Harris trying to get back on the field right away, but I just can't imagine a running back having a back surgery. I have no idea the nature of it, but that doesn't sound very good. But hey, at least there at South Carolina, you got a loaded backfield. And hey, did anyone see that? I tweeted about it. I don't know how many of y'all are on Twitter, but Gene Chizik tweeted out his top rushing attacks in the SEC. No South Carolina, no Ole Miss. What do those have in common? Ole Miss led the damn league in rushing, and they're all back. And then South Carolina had Kevin Harris, who led the league in rushing, and they're not even in the top 5. That's wild. He didn't have Kentucky either. But who did he have? He had Alabama, of course. They just lost virtually everybody in their run game, and he had Georgia. I mean, that's kind of an easy pick. He had A&M, and he had Florida for some reason. But I don't know. That's neither here nor there. But Gene Chizik loves them front runners, I guess. But I appreciate the South Carolina fans kind of putting him in his place on that one. Back to the Gamecocks here. One of the first comments here from Shane Beamer, I really thought this is what South Carolina fans need to hear, because the entire fan base, it seems like, they're pulling in the same direction, and they're inspired, and they're feeling good. They're feeling, you never even hear the word Muschamp around them anymore. It seems like 10 years ago, and that's something that Shane Beamer said they've putting the 2020 season behind him, and he didn't say the Muschamp era, but that's basically what he's trying to say here. It's a new day at South Carolina, and this is exactly what you need to hear if you're a Gamecock.
Shane, you mentioned that you had the team meeting today, and then everybody but Isaiah is here. Just what's the overall prevailing mood for the guys? Does last year even come up among the veteran returnees?
No, I haven't brought it up, and they may talk about it. It's behind us. I think the mood be a great question for the players, but based on the way that they've worked this summer, the way that they've worked since we've been here, eager to get this program back to where it belongs and then some, reach a level that we haven't been before. And they've shown that to us with their actions, and I think they're certainly excited to get to work as well. Everybody was in this team meeting early and ready. We'd given them a little bit of time off this week. We had a fun day last Friday as a team, kind of celebrating the end of the summer, and then they had off Saturday, Sunday, and then a few days this week. So today was the first day seeing these guys in a few days, and everybody was here early and ready to roll.
So much like the team we just talked about, this is what Sam Pittman brought to Arkansas, and it showed right out the gate. Week 1 against Georgia. Thankfully for South Carolina, you don't got to play Georgia week 1. You get them a couple weeks down the road, so you got more time to adapt, got more time to have some continuity and some experience in this system. But hey, again, Beamer continues to hit all the right buttons here when he's speaking to the media. Now we got to see it translate to camp, translate to the practice field, and if they do that, there's going to be quite the turnaround in Columbia. But it's not just me and all y'all that is excited about football. I really love these comments from Shane Beamer as well, going into his first camp as a head coach. I mean, this man is beaming. You know, when Gamecocks wanted this guy, this is why they want him, because he loves the school. He loves, he wants to be the guy that leads South Carolina back to where it was when he was there previously, and it wasn't that long ago. So Shane Beamer waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning because he just wanted to get to his office and get it as much done as possible before camp opens up.
Shane, obviously this is a different opening of fall camp for you than you've had in your career. How are your emotions going into it? Are you overly excited about it? Are you redoing plans, just to make sure you get it letter perfect? How are you handling this first camp for you?
Yeah, I would say overly excited, but trying to pace myself a little bit because we got a long time until we play a game as well. I'm a planner, so much of what we're doing, what we did today, I worked on back in the spring and the summer, and when spring practice finished, looking at things we liked and didn't like and how we want to utilize those going forward. The practice schedules for every single practice in the month of August, they were done in May. In my mind, I woke up this morning, I couldn't sleep. I think I woke up at like 4:15 and just came into the office because I just had so much stuff on my mind. So normally you're always excited when you're coaching tight ends at Oklahoma or tight ends at Georgia or wherever. You're worried about, your position group and making sure you know where to go in practice and what time meetings are. Now there's just so many things, which is no different right now. It's the way it's been every day, but there's so many things that are on your mind, and it's, oh crap, I forgot about that, and make sure I talk to this guy about that and stuff like that. So it's a lot of checking things off and rechecking things and going back through things and things like that. But certainly excited and very, process oriented. There's a lot to get done between now and September 4th, but just focus on what's important right now and finishing up with you guys, which I'm loving every second of, and then get ready for position meetings and the team meeting we have tonight and practice in the morning and everything else as well. And then worry about, the next day after that.
All right, and one last thing from Shane Beamer. You got to love this. He's playing it up a little bit, but here's the reality. We can talk up the Gamecocks all we want. And yes, I know they have talent at running back, on the offensive line, the defensive line, potentially at quarterback and receiver. They've got players. I'm not sitting here saying they don't. But, again, you're going into an SEC slate. You got to play Clemson. This is a damn mountain you got to climb, year one especially. But if you don't play scared, if you don't play timid, if you can't just go balls to the wall here, but, you got to push the envelope. And that is something I talked about Sam Pittman, what he brought to Arkansas. I think this is a little bit what Lane Kiffin brought to Ole Miss. And I don't think those players and I don't think that program really believed in themselves under Matt Luke. Now they had Lane Kiffin, who's kind of always pushing the boundaries there and going for it on fourth down. I'm not saying you got to go every single time, but hey, you do that, you show confidence in your team. And going from the previous coach, who was a defensive-minded guy who, I think he was happy with field position and field goals and all that, Shane Beamer is going to push the envelope on fourth down, and this is exactly what I wanted to hear from South Carolina's first-year coach.
When you're watching these games and putting yourself in that head coach position, are you noticing anything surprising about yourself? Are you going for it on fourth down a lot?
I think I can make the fan base happy if I say we're going for it on fourth down a lot, right? So, I think it's it's game by game. It's the situation. It's a lot of it for me is just kind of paying attention to the clock and understanding how important 2-minute situations are and things like that. And obviously I had a long conversation yesterday with Sylvester Croom, who I worked for at Mississippi State and gave me my first full-time job. And he called me, which I appreciated, and just talked about some of the mistakes he made year one, and we talked a lot about game situations and being aggressive and things like that. And that's certainly that we always want to be here at Carolina, be aggressive and give our guys the best chance to win football games, but also understanding the flow of the game how your offense is playing, how your defense is playing, how you're doing on special teams, who you're playing, how they're playing. There's a lot of factors that certainly go into that. But, I want to be aggressive, always have been, always will be. I'm not one of those guys just to sit back and try and wait for things to happen. I mean, we want to go make them happen.
If that doesn't fire you up for college football, I don't know what will. I mean, Beamer's feeling it down there at South Carolina. It's a new era, and it certainly seems like they've got their man down there leading the Gamecocks down there. So I can't wait for his debut. But that's going to do it for this episode. And, hey, we'll have a big announcement on the next episode. I think you guys are really going to want to tune in for Monday's show. It's going to be a unique one for sure. So stay tuned for that. That's what we call in the biz a little bit of a teaser here, but a really good teaser. It's going to be a good thing. I hope you guys will appreciate all the effort that goes into Monday's show. It's going to be unlike any other we've had. So tune in. Hope you enjoyed the week. Hey, we're back to 5 podcasts a week. If you appreciate all this content coming to your SEC inbox, we're going to be loaded with all these other coaches speaking all throughout the weekend as camps open. So we are just going to keep the content rolling. And if you've appreciated what we've been doing all week, give us that 5-star written review on the Apple Podcast app. That really helps the show grow, doesn't cost you a thing, and we'll send you a beer koozie free of charge just for doing it. That's just our way of saying thanks for each and every one of you. And of course, check out our YouTube page. If you're not following us on YouTube, you're not going to see what's unique about Monday's show. It's going to be, like I said, unlike any we've ever had. So tune in for that. As always, appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. Catch you all in the next one.